This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Years ago on June 6, 1944, Canadian troops joined Allied forces in an operation that changed the course of World War II. D-Day wasn't just a battle, it was a turning point. Over 14,000 Canadian soldiers landed on Juno Beach, and by the day's end, they had advanced further than any other Allied unit. But that came at a cost. Nearly 1,000 Canadian soldiers were killed, wounded, or went missing in those brutal hours. Their courage, their willingness to sacrifice everything, ensured freedoms we often take for granted today. This Remembrance Day, it's especially important to reflect on those sacrifices. D-Day's legacy reminds us of the power of unity and strength we can find in each other. Honoring our veterans isn't just about looking back, it's about living up to the values they fought for, making sure what they gave up is never forgotten. You're about to hear from a man who was there at just 19 years of age, a gunner on the HMCS Prince Henry. But first, I want to talk to you about saving the Juno Beach Center. This is Project Concordia. Folks, you may remember when Canadians rallied behind the Juno Beach Center to protect our soldiers' sacred ground in Normandy. At that time, it was a huge win. Our voices saved that site from becoming a condo complex. But we're at the what's next moment. The Juno Beach Center in Normandy, France, has an incredible opportunity to expand and preserve this land, but they need help. There's a time-sensitive opportunity to develop the site into a full interpretive park and an expanded museum area that'll keep this history alive for generations. The Juno Beach Center is looking to create an outdoor interpretive space that honors our veterans right on the beaches where they fought. Imagine a place where Canadians can walk and learn and feel the history that shaped our country's identity. Project Concordia isn't just about preserving the past, it's about creating a lasting, living memory. There's support from the French government and Normandy's tourism boards, but to make it a reality, Canadians need to contribute. The Juno Beach Center has secured a development permit from the local council in Normandy, but as you know, political winds can shift, and the support that we have today might not be there tomorrow. This is a moment for us to put our stamp on history, to honor the sacrifice of those that have gone before us, including the thousands who never made it home and rest under French soil. Canada's story is on the line here. Head over to the Juno Beach Center's website at junobeach.org to donate, learn more, and see the plans for Project Concordia. This is not just a one-time ask. This is about building something that will preserve Canadian history for generations to come. If the Save Juno Beach movement moved you, this is your moment to act. Let's show the world what Canadians are made of. A wonderful friend of this show, Chris Labossiere, is your man. If you want to dive deeper, you can reach out to him directly. He's on a mission to make sure that Canadians know this story, and he'll meet you wherever you're at to talk more about it. Take a look at this again. That's junobeach.org. We'll also be happy to put you in touch with Chris and the Juno Beach Center directly if you send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. What an incredible opportunity to sit down with a great Canadian. Someone who at 99 years of age will look back on the 80th anniversary of D-Day and Remembrance Day differently than most because he was there as a young man, a gunner, serving alongside his brother in one of the most monumental moments in Canadian and world history. Marty Jones, what an honor to welcome you to Real Talk. Thank you for making time for us.
Thanks for allowing me on board.
Marty, what do you remember about the day that you enlisted?
Well, It was just a pretty well cut and patched place I was in, because I was in the Reserve Army when I was 16. The 1622nd Sask Horse from Lashburn, Saskatchewan. And we were trained by the First World War veterans to pack what kind of sand to pack in Dundurn. And the whole thing came together as a perfect package. And then when I heard, I wondered where I could find my brother. And here he was, went to the HMCS Unicorn in Saskatoon, joined the Navy. So I thought, boy, I want to follow that guy. He needs my protection, and so that's what I did. And then I remustered into the Navy because my older brother Bill was joined. And so I was in the lineup in the Esquimalt down in the dockyards, and I heard this guy yell at me. He said, "Hey, Marty," and I looked up. It was my brother Bill. He was in the lineup with me getting on board the Prince Henry.
Was it always that type of relationship where you always wanted to be with your brother doing what he was doing?
Yeah, but the odd time things had changed because I was a little firm with myself, and I ended up on shore patrol and I hauled him out of the brothel one night because that was my job.
I don't know if Bill wants you telling that story, Marty.
No, but it's true. Yeah, I was the brother that kept him on his feet. He'd imbibe with the others. See, I didn't get rum ration. I got lime juice because I was underage as a seaman. So I had to use lime juice, and he'd save it. They'd save the rum, the boys, and go ape ashore, and I'd end up put on the shore patrol, and my job was hauling them out of the brothels and that.
You do a decent job of that?
Yeah, oh yeah. My brother, I'd give him a little lecture along with it.
As a 16-year-old, Marty, was it on your radar that maybe by enlisting you might find yourself in combat? What do you remember about what those World War I veterans, what were they teaching you and telling you about their experience in combat, their experience at war?
Yeah, I was honored to have the First World War vets, the tough nuts that survived that miserable war, help me how to stay alive as a reservist. And it was unreal how they helped us young guys.
So you find yourself on the HMCS Prince Henry.
Right.
And it's taking you across oceans to places.
Scary places. When we came to the Panama Canal, there was a wolf pack of 5 German U-boats waiting to grab us. And what we had on the Prince Henry, we had depth charges, and we could counter them, but we didn't have torpedoes, but we could outrun them on the surface. So that's how we managed to what we really did was act as patrol and protect them.
You're 16, 17, 18 years old at this time?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, I wasn't even shaving then.
Was it exhilarating? Was it terrifying? Was it a little bit of both?
No, it was. I didn't let it. I didn't have time to be terrified because we had our jobs to do, man our guns, and we had depth charges and good lookouts. So that's how we stayed alive.
So how long at a time would you be out at sea?
We'd stay with the convoy as far as we could with our fuel last. See, we were escort for our ships, passenger ships that were hauling the troops over.
What do you remember about the climate at that time? Not the weather, but where people were at, where the public sentiment in Canada was at. What were your friends thinking as you deployed?
Our friends and relatives, they were horrified to think that we were going to start getting shot at. So we didn't take time for that. We just trained steady, incessantly, sharpening our wits with the guns and stuff we had.
Did you have to put their concern out of your mind, or was that just a natural instinct?
No, we were part of the team. No, we had no trouble. We slept in hammocks too. We didn't have the comfort. We had to pack our bed up at night. For 2 years on the Prince Henry, I slept in a hammock. So we didn't get the luxury of nice bunks like the U.S. Boys on their ships.
Was there some envy there? Do you remember?
You betcha.
You were well aware of what they were privy to?
When we were glad when we were able to use their facilities and work with them, because we got Babe Ruth chocolate bars and all this good stuff, because they were well fed. But we were eating British rations, and it was fat pork and you name it. But once we got into the American system, we didn't want to leave.
Can you still taste those British rations 80 years later?
Oh yeah, boy, yeah. Choke on on fat pork.
Yeah. So June 6th, 1944.
Yeah.
D-Day. You were but 19 years of age.
Yeah. I just on May the 30th, I turned 19. Yeah.
Wow, you were just 19.
Just 19, yeah.
What do you remember in the days leading up to June 6th?
Well, it was incessant training and ducking around the channel at night and trying to keep out of the way of the E-boats. See, they were out to get us because they knew something was up. And we kept a low keel. A low key approach.
So at that time, you're an able seaman, correct?
Yeah.
And you're a gunner.
Yeah.
On a ship. Can you describe to us what your role was, what you were doing?
Yeah, I was an AE-3 gunner, aerial gunner, and we had to do a lot of aerial target practice to sharp, because we were aerial gunners.
So your job was to shoot planes out of the sky. Is that right?
That's right. Not surface stuff. We were aerial. We used 20 millimeter guns and 40. My brother Bill, he was on a 40 millimeter Bofors, a Swedish gun, and I was on a 40 millimeter Oerlikon, and that was Swiss gun.
You and your brother were on the same ship.
Yeah,
both gunners.
Both gunners, yeah. And boy, we were sharp. We used to compete with each other in the target shooting and stuff, And his little brother that wasn't going to take a back seat either.
Was it unusual to have two brothers serving essentially side by side? Do you remember that being unusual?
Yeah, it was. But see, that was the era of the Sullivan boys, the 5 brothers that were on one destroyer in the U.S. Navy. And when that destroyer was sunk, 3 of the brothers lost their lives looking for the 2 they couldn't find. So the Sullivans, they wouldn't allow brothers on ships after that.
What do you remember about operating that? What was the gun? The 20 millimeter?
Boy, it was a top gun. Boy, we used to compete against each other, and boy, the targets would blow them. The aerial targets would cut the cords and blow them off the sky when he got good at it.
What do you remember about the morning of D-Day? Waking up that morning?
It was pretty somber. My brother and I said goodbye to each other, shook hands, and said goodbye.
Really?
They figured we were one of the ships that was going to be wiped out, because we were going into a pretty dangerous area, and they didn't figure we'd see each other. So my brother Bill and I gave each other a hug, and said goodbye.
Had you come to terms with the fact that you might not make it?
That's right, yeah. And see, we had communion too. That's something like the Anglican the padre on the British ships, where you broke bread. So my brother Bill and I've got a picture of him. He bowed, my head bowed, and we were really praying like nobody's business, because we were written off. So,
what do you remember most about that day?
It's like I was saying, a somber day. We were really quiet. No, you said your goodbyes, and you just concentrating, hoping that your gun positions, you wouldn't get hit, knocked out too early. You wanted to have a chance to defend yourself.
What were you seeing all around you as these thousands of soldiers are landing on the beach and facing heavy fire, and many of them are falling?
It was mayhem. It's what it was. But we didn't let it slip out. We just had to stick with it. And the boys on the beach, one of our native guys, he got out of the LCA, and a big guy from Saskatchewan, he ran ashore and he took the boots off a dead German army officer. Then that was against the rules, but he got held, but he got back to the landing craft. Wow. With the boots on.
Was it a trophy, or he just needed new boots?
No, well, both. But a trophy, boy, that was a real good trophy to come on to that.
Can you share a moment from D-Day or maybe the days that followed that has stuck with you for 80 years since?
Well, the thing that I used to have problems with some of my friends. I had a license plate that had D-Day on it. I had a private one in Alberta.
Yes. And
I was showing it to my kid brother. He wasn't in the war. He wasn't old enough. Showing the license plate to his wife, and she looked at me and she said, "What does D-Day vet mean?" to me, and I said it means I was took part in D-Day, and then she took a couple seconds of silence, and then she looked at me again, called me a killer. She said, "You were a killer," and I thought, well, this late in the war to call me a killer, really, I wasn't. We didn't carry out that attitude. We ended up good people, all of us. And we had to put that fire out in a hurry because calling your cousin, your neighbor, a killer, And I never even called any of our immigrants we had that were in the Gestapo or in the German army. I worked with them in Canada in construction jobs. And they'd celebrate their Christmas get together, and my daughter there, she was just a little squirt. I took her to them because her mom was busy, and geez, they were singing army songs at this one guy's place, and I didn't think anything.
You didn't think anything of it, really?
Nah, I thought the war is over. They're my friends now. So.
Did you have to make conscious decisions like that mentally, emotionally, or otherwise, that once the war was over, it was time to move on in a certain way as best you could?
And I embraced, some of the enemy, the German immigrants, they ended up good Canadians. They blended in with us, with no problems. We never, if they wanted to put their jack boots on and dance around the living room in their house, that's their business.
Marty, I don't know that everybody would be able to reach a point like that you did.
Yeah, but see, that's called forgiveness and grace. And I never held a grudge against any. I'll tell you something. In 1979, my Joanne's mom was dying of breast cancer. So I took her back to her Diggins, and I took her to Cambridge and took her to Oxford and took her across the channel on the old deal. And when I was in Germany, guess what? The guys, the one fella in one of the German cities, I stopped there to stay at his hotel, and he said, "Are you an American?" Or what? I said, "No, I'm Canadian." And he says, "You want to stay here tonight, eh?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "I own this hotel, and I'll close my restaurant, but I'll go open it up, and you and your wife can stay here for no cost," he said, on me. And here he is, a former Gestapo guy. And I said, "Thank you." And boy, I was treated great in Germany.
Marty,
by the enemy.
When you think of the friends and the fellow seamen, the soldiers that you lost, the sacrifice of Canadian servicemen is astounding.
Yeah.
What do you want Canadians today to remember about them? How should we honor their memory?
Yeah, well, see, I want them to remember that, like my 20-year-old cousin, he was with the Calgary Highlanders, and he was a volunteer, and he's buried in Holland. And see, the Dutch people, boy, they would walk a country mile to remember the Canadians, because they figure we were their heroes, and we were. Was our boys, like the Canadian Scottish and the Regina Rifles, boy, they were my heroes, what they did.
What's it like for you, Marty, when at a Remembrance Day ceremony, at a cenotaph, or perhaps just passing on the street, you see an active duty Canadian military personnel, you see a serviceman or servicewoman there. What's that interaction like, and what do you say to them? Or what do they say to you?
Yeah, well, if they find out that I'm a former D-Day vet, Jesus, they walk a country mile. They love me to death. They said, "You're the hero." I said, "No, you guys are my heroes too." I said, "We've got to change. We need love in our life, not hate. And I don't care what color your skin is or what army you come out of. When we solve things and embrace each other, and make peace."
Marty, you're about to turn 100 years old. What's one lesson or one piece of advice that you would give to the younger generations that are going to watch this on YouTube, they're going to listen to this on the podcast, about life or service or freedom?
Yeah. I want them to think that they think that Marty, he thinks of the folks in general. He loves them because they're human. He loves them because they care about each other. And I don't want to hear any word hate in my vocabulary, not to my last breath. So I just want to thank you for this interview and let me express my thoughts.
Marty, this has been an incredible honor to welcome you to our studio. I want to thank you for your service 80 years ago, and prior to that as well, a retired able seaman, a veteran of D-Day, Marty Jones. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Love y'all.
This special episode of Real Talk is made possible with the support of Alberta's top online real estate school. That's Relo at relo.ca. You get a head start on your real estate career by partnering with Relo, a team of expert instructors ready to help you launch on the right foot. Make sure you use the promo code Ryan100 to save $100 on the Alberta residential and commercial real estate bundles. Friesen Brothers is Alberta-owned and Alberta-grown in 17 different Alberta communities. Don't forget, on the first of every month, save 15% off grocery purchases of $75 or more at Friesen Brothers. Nobody does custom closets and storage solutions better than California Closets. They can work on your time frame, they can work with your space, and they can work with your budget. It all starts with a free consultation. Book today at californiaclosets.ca. No solar company is growing faster in Canada than Kubi Renewable Energy, and they're hiring. If you'd like to work with this fast-growing, dynamic team and start growing Canada's green energy footprint, check out the careers link today at kubienergy.ca. Athabasca University is Canada's open university, where your only commute is to your device. With a myriad of programs and courses, including that Athabasca U MBA, you're bound to find a fit. Learn more about the AU Advantage at athabascau.ca. The team at Complete Care Restoration are experts in restoring your property and rebuilding your peace of mind. For more than 25 years, they've been providing professional property restoration services in Edmonton and surrounding area, and they're ready to respond 24/7. You can find them online today at completecarerestoration.ca. And we're so very proud to be partnering with UCAN Youth Services, where they're helping at-risk young people aged 18 to 25 find paths toward economic independence. You can learn more about what they're doing and how you can help, perhaps as an employer, by visiting youcan.ca. And one final reminder that the Juno Beach Center needs our help to ensure that Project Concordia is able to achieve its mandate. That is, to honor the sacrifice of Canadians, the thousands of them who fought on D-Day and changed the course of history. Let's make sure that Canadians can walk, learn, and feel that history for generations to come. Visit junobeach.org.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harman Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.